What's going on, guys? Welcome back to part 2 of music theory on guitar. If you guys are new to the channel, welcome. Sitting nice and pretty at 125 subscribers, so I post music content every single week. Tutorials, demos, lessons, stuff like that. Pretty much just anything fun. Last week I built this guitar, which is pretty fire, honestly. Look at this thing. So in the last video, I talked about building scales, different intervals and stuff like that. If you haven't checked out my video last week, you should probably check that out first because I'm gonna be using a lot of references from the last video. First off, in the intro solo, I wouldn't necessarily really play a solo like that for the most part, but it gave you a good idea of how maybe triads can be used in solos, or even kind of what a triad is. Let's get into the video. Today we're gonna be talking about different kinds of triads and kind of the basics on how to use them. So first thing is, what's a triad? A triad is just a 3-note chord. If you think of a triangle, it's got 3 sides. A triad has 3 different notes that you play at the same time. First one is going to be a major triad. Next one is going to be a minor triad. Next one is going to be a diminished triad. Next one is going to be an augmented triad. Major triads are kind of usually pretty happy sounding and fruity sounding. Minor chords are usually a little bit sadder, right? Diminished are really funky sounding chords. They're very, very dark, very depressing, but very good transition chords, which we'll get into in a second. And augmented chords are kind of just confused. So let's start by learning how to build these chords. We'll take the key of G, okay? So I'm going to start with my root on G. Each one of these notes have a scale degree, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And we take a major triad by building the first, the third, and the fifth, by putting the first, the third, and the fifth together. So if I take 1, 2, 3, I'm going to take 1 and 3. That's a major third interval. And then if I go to the fifth of the scale, which would be 3, 4, 5, it would be a D. But as you guys followed in the last one, an easy way, this is kind of like a hack to figuring this out. So let's just say I take a G major scale and I play it on the 6th string. So I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You see all of the notes and you know how it's played, but obviously you can't play a chord on one string, duh. So we're gonna figure out how to take some of these and we're gonna apply them to different strings. So if I take 1, 2, 3, I know that I'm going to need to play this in my major triad. So how do we play this in a major triad? Simple. If you were following my last video, hint, hint, watch the video. You go up to the next string and you go down 5 semitones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're the same exact note. So now I could take this root and I could play it with this major third down here. And now how do I take the fifth? Well, I know that this is my third scale degree for 5. So I obviously need to play it on a different string, right? So I'm going to take this and I'm going to bring it up a string and move it down 5 semitones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's an open string. Interesting. Maybe sounds like a G major chord, right? It's the first 3 notes in the G major chord. That's a G major triad. Now the technical way to build a major triad is you start with a note, and you start with your root actually, and you go up 4 semitones from there. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And as you can see, that's the 3rd scale degree, which gives you that major third. And then you go up another 3 semitones from the major third. 1, 2, 3. And as you can see, that's the perfect 5th of the scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's how you get a major triad. Now a minor triad is pretty much the same thing as a major triad, except the third is flat. So you take the third and you just flatted a note. Flatted it. That's really hard to say. Flatted it. You take the third and you flat it. And that gives you a minor triad in a root position. Let's figure out how to play a triad in a different shape. So I know that I have this root right over here, G. Then I also have another root over here on the 5th fret of the D string. So I can now build another triad off of that D. So off of that G on the D string. So I have this, and I need to go up to the major third. So 1, 2, 3. I'm going to take this, and I'm going to bring it down 5 semitones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now that's my root and my major third. And now the fifth is going to be right over here. It's a little different on the B string because you go down 4 semitones, but for instance, take major third, go up to the 4th, 5th. This is the 5th of the scale, and now I'm going to go down 4 semitones from there. 1, 2, 3, 4. So now I have G, B, and D, and that's going to be my G major triad, 1, 3, and the 5. I want you to think of a triad not as just the root, the third, and the fifth. I don't want you to just think of it as the root, the third, and the fifth. I want you to think of those 3 notes as ingredients. You can mix and match them however you want. So for instance, we have GBD right here in its root position, the first, the third, and the fifth. So let's figure out how to play the same triad in a different way. This is going to be a really good exercise. You should learn how to take the triads and learn how to play them in different places on the fretboard using the same strings. So GBD. Let's figure out how to take the third and put it at the bass. And to do that, I go down the string and go up 5 semitones. So now this is my major third, and I know I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is my fifth, so I have my third, my fifth, and now where's my root? It's right here at the top. Yes, your root doesn't necessarily have to be at the bottom of the chord. It could be at the top, it could be in the middle, it could be diagonal, it could be sideways. So for this, I have my third, my fifth, and then I have my root. So let's take it a step further. Let's say I took this fifth and I want to put it at the bottom of the chord now. This is my fifth, which is going to be the 10th fret of the E string. Now I have my fifth right here. I have G right here, which is my root, right? And then if I want to play the third, I know it's right here on the 9th fret of the D string. So now we've just learned how to play this triad in 3 different ways, right? So we have root position, first inversion, second inversion, and then if you want, the 12th fret is technically just an octave, so you can kind of play everything in the same shape above fret 12. We're going to take that same shape that we had down here, except we're going to move it up. Right? And now I have the 15th fret of the E, which is G. I have the 14th fret of the A string, then I have the 12th fret of the D string, which is the same shape as down here. So now I have all these different triad shapes that I could use. This is going to just completely open up access to a lot of things on the fretboard. Now, do the same exact thing with your minor triads, your augmented and diminished triads. I'm not going to do a whole sequence of it right now, just for time's sake, right? If I have, all you need to do is just flat the third for every single one of them. So I'll do the minor triads as an example. We obviously know this is our major triad, so we have to flat the third. That's a G minor in its root position. But now I know over here, this was a major third, so all I have to do is just flat that third, right? And now that's a G minor. Let's move it up again. So this was okay because this was my fifth, and then this was my root. But now this over here on the D string, that was my major, this was my fifth, this was my root, and now over here on the G string, the D string was my major third. So instead of that major third, now we're gonna flat it. Just to finish it off, I want you to just really experiment with these different types of triads. Figure out how to play them on all different areas of the guitar neck. Just start with one key though. Start with maybe G. And start experimenting with different licks, right? That one in the beginning. I don't really remember exactly what I did. It was something like that, right? Something like that. So this guy, this is also a triad. You might recognize that as a D chord shape. When you play it up here, it's a different chord. It's actually a C chord. So this is a C triad. This is also a C triad. So it really starts to encourage you to do different things on the guitar neck that you never really did before. So if I'm doing maybe some type of solo or something like that, instead of just, when people think of the key of G, they automatically gravitate to, oh, this is G. Which is nothing wrong with that, but first off, you're playing G minor, you gotta realize that, G minor pentatonic. But this is really gonna open up your playing, so if I'm playing G, I hit a wrong note right there. It's fine, it happens. What are you gonna do? But there's no such thing as a wrong note. This week was really just kind of on how to build triads, but I didn't necessarily go into the diatonic chords in a major key signature or a minor key signature even. So next week I'm going to be going into diatonic chords and stuff like that. So practice those this week, and then next week I'll be back with a little bit more so you guys can kind of stay in the loop. I really hope that helped. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really, really do appreciate it. If you guys found any value in it, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, because I'm going to be dropping a lot more videos. With that being said, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next week.